Greetings from Dahl Vineyards. This month's wine club shipment includes our 2012 Russian River Reserve Pinot Noir and our 2013 Yountville Chardonnay. Enjoy.
Today's case takes us to Napa Valley in Central California. Napa Valley is renowned for its sprawling vineyards and wine production. There are more than 400 wineries in Napa County. Napa's popularity stems from the Paris wine tasting of 1976, when two Napa wines outranked French wines in the competition, launching Napa wines to stardom. Emad Tawfilis was a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur and wine lover who had connections to Hollywood. He had invested $200,000 in the Jimmy Westwood's American Hero movie and was even an extra in it. After a successful corporate career, he decided to venture into business. Friends described him as an easygoing and level-headed businessman. He was a casual t-shirt and jeans guy, and folks enjoyed being around him, they said. Robert Dahl moved to Napa with his wife and 3 kids from Minnesota, where he had ran a mold removal business. He partnered with another businessman named Tawfilis to buy a vineyard in Napa. Keep in mind, Robert had no experience in winemaking, while Tawfilis' family had been making wine for 4 generations. Tawfilis went all in with this business venture. He even sold his house. But Dahl wasn't satisfied. He wanted more, so he went out looking for new partners. In 2011, Robert met Emad, and they had the common desire of making it big in the wine industry. Robert convinced him that his returns would be big, and if he invested cash, they would get better deals. Emad invested $1.2 million, and the business apparently did well, so much so that Dahl paid back Emad part of his investment. This made Emad want to invest more, and he did. He invested another $800,000. That same year, Robert started a craft beer brewery with Francine and Greg Nittel. Greg was in construction, and so he built the brewery, but after a while, things started going downhill. Turns out that Robert wasn't making beer at the brewery. Instead, he was buying beer kegs from a vendor. One day, Dahl shows up and says the brewery is being shut down because it wasn't making money. The Nittels lost $250,000. To make matters worse, they had encouraged friends to invest in the brewery, so they too lost their money. By 2014, Dahl Vineyards had taken off. Robert was running the show and Emad was a silent investor. After a while, the business started going south. Emad thought he had invested his money in the vineyard, but Robert had invested the money in the Nittel brewery, used some of the money for personal items, and had stopped paying back Emad. Emad hired a lawyer because he wanted his money and wanted a background check done on Robert. He hired Dawn King, a private investigator in Napa Valley, who was also a former FBI agent. She discovered Robert had a lengthy history of liens. He had also been sued several times and had been convicted twice of theft by swindle in Minnesota.
He left behind 2 felony convictions and a personal bankruptcy. He was looking for a clean start where nobody knew him.
Emad was angry. He wanted his whole investment back. His attorney devised a plan to file a lawsuit in Napa so that he could get control of the collateral and prevent property loss. A Napa court issued an injunction to prevent Robert from selling inventory. Nevertheless, Robert was still taking equipment to hide or sell. Their attorneys eventually struck a deal, and Robert agreed to meet Emad at the winery to work out the details. Robert and Emad met in person on March 16, 2015, but their lawyers joined them via phone on a conference call. Robert backtracked on the prior agreed-upon deal and tried to offer Emad several $100,000 less than what was previously agreed to. The attorneys thought that Robert and Emad should iron out those details themselves, so they ended the call. Unbeknownst to them, Robert had other sinister plans in mind. He had brought some documents that he wanted Emad to sign to absolve Robert of all wrongdoing. Emad declined, and that's when Robert opened fire on him. Emad gets hit and takes off running through the vineyard as Robert keeps shooting at him through the rows of grapes in the vineyard. Emad calls 911.
It was just before noon when Napa County dispatchers got a frantic call coming from Dahl Vineyards. Having already been shot once, Emad Tawfilis of Los Gatos was running for his life. When deputies arrived at the Yountville winery, the scene turned from desperate to deadly.
Robert runs back to the winery, gets into his car, and chases Emad down. As Emad is running, he tells 911 that he can see the police in the distance. Unfortunately, Robert catches up to him first and fatally wounds him as the police cars are arriving at the vineyard.
One of the subjects had fallen to the ground. The other subject exited a black SUV, appeared to walk over and point a weapon at the subject as if he were execution style.
The suspect, Robert Dahl, tore off in this black SUV.
Robert flees and leads police on a chase before plowing into a private gate near the Sonoma County line. When the SWAT team moved in on his car, they found him inside with a fatal, self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police also found more than 750 rounds of ammunition, gloves, duct tape, and zip ties, which insinuates that Robert was planning to harm more people. It is hard to tell what set Robert off that day. It begs the question, what type of unscrupulous dealings was he involved in to the point where taking such drastic measures was the only way out for him? We will never know.